Have you ever wondered what would happen if Satoru Gojo had powers from other anime universes? What if he had the system from Solo Leveling, Bankai from Bleach, or even Ultra Instinct? Would he be able to survive in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen with these new powers? Well, before we answer that, let's set some simple rules. First, Gojo loses all of his current powers, including Limitless, Six Eyes, and everything else, and gains a new power from another verse. Second, with these new powers, Gojo must defeat Toji and Sukuna, because in the original story, these are the only two characters he ever lost to. Although Kenjaku was also involved, but we won't be counting him, since he never actually defeated Gojo in a direct combat. Now, for starters, let's take Haki from the One Piece verse. And yeah, before you ask, why not a devil fruit? Sure, they're flashy, but as Kaido said, Haki transcends all. Roger conquered the seas with Haki alone, and it negates even the most absurd powers. So yeah, Haki it is. Now let's move on to the fight against Toji. Just like in the original timeline, Toji attempts a sneak attack on Gojo, but this time it doesn't go the same way. You see, Gojo now possesses Future Sight, which doesn't just read intent, but allows him to visualize the timeline seconds in advance, meaning the moment Toji tries to strike, Gojo already knows it and effortlessly dodges. Also, Toji's heavenly restriction is terrifying in JJK, but Haki-infused physicality scales to One Piece top tiers, easily Mountain 2 island level. Even the inverted Spear of Heaven won't help since Gojo can coat himself in armament Haki. But if Gojo manages to land an attack on the level of Shanks' Divine Departure or Garp's Galaxy Impact, things end immediately. Now, to be fair, this would still be early stage Gojo, like he's just a high school student at this point. So realistically, he wouldn't be able to use those attacks at full power yet. But considering the kind of prodigy Gojo is, we can safely assume he could at least use them at around 50% strength. And let's be honest, even 50% of those attacks is more than enough to end this fight instantly. So yeah, Gojo clears Toji and moves on to fight Sukuna. Now, to make things even more entertaining, we'll be using Sukuna in Megumi's body, meaning he can summon Maharaga and Agito, just like in the original. On top of that, we're giving Sukuna access to World-Cutting Slash. And just so you know, this fight against Sukuna takes place 12 years after the battle with Toji. That means Gojo has had over a decade to train, grow, and fully develop his new abilities, so he'll be far stronger than he was in his first fight. And this same condition applies to every scenario in this video. From here on out, just assume Gojo always gets those 12 years of growth. I won't keep repeating it again and again. So the real question is, can Gojo, with his new Haki abilities, defeat Sukuna this time? You see, this battle becomes a race against adaptation. Sukuna immediately summons Maharaga and Agito, creating a 3v1 scenario, while using them as distractions to prepare his world-cutting slash. However, thanks to Future Sight, Gojo already knows what's coming. So, instead of engaging directly, Gojo unleashes a massive wave of Conqueror's Haki, stunning everyone on the battlefield for a brief moment. Without wasting a single second, he follows up with a Haki-imbued attack, carrying destructive power on the level of Garp's Galaxy Impact, aimed straight at Maharaga and Agito. The sheer attack power is so overwhelming, Maharaga fails to adapt and is instantly vaporized. And Agito, yeah, he doesn't survive either. As for Sukuna, he regains his momentum and fires the world-cutting slash. But once again, Gojo dodges it effortlessly thanks to Future Sight. Gojo then attempts to close the distance, but Sukuna counters by activating Malevolent Shrine. Still, Gojo sees it coming thanks to Future Sight, and before Sukuna can do that, he releases Conqueror's Haki one more time, this time targeting Megumi's soul directly, disrupting Sukuna's control and breaking his momentum. Taking advantage of the opening, Gojo closes in and uses Ryuo, inflicting internal damage directly to the boundary between Sukuna's and Megumi's souls, similar to how Itadori's soul-striking punches worked. And just like that, Sukuna is forced out of Megumi's body and is completely vaporized, meaning with Haki, Gojo wins this time. Now, if you are enjoying this video so far, why not subscribe? Yeah, go on, click it. Next, let's take Breathing Style from the Demon Slayer verse. For this, we're obviously going with Sun Breathing, and we'll also give Gojo a Nichiren sword. Now, Toji's ambush normally works because his lack of cursed energy makes him invisible to most sensors. However, Gojo now possesses the transparent world. This allows him to literally see Toji's blood flow, muscle contractions, and even his skeletal structure, no matter how well he hides his shadows. Also, during this this time period, Gojo was only a second-year high school student, so we can assume he hasn't fully mastered all the breathing forms or the selfless state yet, just like in the original, where he hadn't perfected reverse curse technique or advanced attacks like Red, meaning that even if Toji's ambush is exposed, Toji can still defeat Gojo in a 1v1. In terms of pure physical stats at this point, Toji is still significantly superior, given the current arsenal of abilities Gojo has. So unfortunately for Satoru, Toji takes this one. Next, let's give Gojo anti-magic from the Black Clover verse. And with this, Gojo also gains Libe, along with all Devil Union transformations and every weapon originally used by Asta. Now for the first fight, Gojo versus Toji. This matchup is almost ironic, because Toji is basically fighting someone from his own category. If you know, you know what I mean. Normally, Toji's sneak attacks work because he can't be sensed, but this time, Gojo possesses key sensing, which detects life force, physical intent, and muscle movement. The moment Toji lunges in for the ambush, Gojo senses the key behind the attack and blocks it effortlessly, and honestly, that's where it ends. If Gojo activates any transformation like Black Asta form, there's no realistic scenario where Toji survives. The gap in power becomes overwhelming almost instantly. So yeah, Gojo clears Toji and moves on to face Ryomen Sukuna. And this is the ultimate hard counter for Sukuna. You see, Sukuna is the absolute master of cursed energy, and Gojo has now become the eraser of cursed energy itself. Even if Sukuna summons Mahoraga and Agito, Gojo in his true Devil Union can erase the cursed energy holding Agito together with a single swing. And if Mahoraga attempts to adapt, Gojo's anti-magic can negate the very energy required to fuel the adaptation wheel. And with that said, Gojo cleaves Mahoraga in two. Desperate, Sukuna activates Malevolent Shrine, but it doesn't matter. The moment Gojo expands his anti-mana zone, the domain's sure hit effect is instantly erased, because at the end of the day, a domain expansion is still constructed entirely from cursed energy, meaning in this scenario, Gojo wins. Next, we have the system from the solo leveling verse. Alright, so this one is actually pretty interesting, and for the sake of this video, we won't be giving Gojo his full power right from the start. Instead, we'll assume he's reached a level where he can extract shadows, but he's still in the early stages of that ability. Now, just like in the original timeline, Toji successfully executes a perfect ambush and stabs Gojo from behind. But don't worry, this time things go very differently. At that exact moment, a blue window pops up. Warning, only 5% HP remains. Gojo then simply says, recover, and his body is instantly restored to peak condition. Before Toji can even process what just happened, Gojo activates Bloodlust. This skill induces paralyzing fear in the target. Even if Toji resists part of it due to his heavenly restriction, his overall stats will still be debuffed by nearly 50%. Seizing the opening, Gojo dashes forward and kills Toji with ease. Immediately after, a new window appears saying, Shadow Extraction available. Gojo then says, Arise. And just like that, he gains his very first shadow, which means the next fight is obviously against Sukuna. And since we're giving Sukuna everything he has, it's only fair that Gojo now receives full Shadow Monarch authority as well. Now this is where it gets crazy. Sukuna opens the battle the same way, by summoning Mahoraga and Agito, creating a 3v1 situation. He believes he can overwhelm Gojo while charging up the world-cutting slash, but this time is different. Gojo simply unleashes his entire Shadow army, including Shadow Toji, who is now essentially an Igris-level threat. The gap in power here is completely insurmountable. Gojo doesn't even need to fight Sukuna himself. His shadows alone are more than enough to handle him, and even if Sukuna attempts to fire off the world-cutting slash, Gojo can just use Ruler's authority to slam him into the ground, pinning him down with overwhelming force. No matter what Sukuna tries, he's not getting away this time. Next, let's take a stand from the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure universe. For this one, we're obviously giving Gojo Star Platinum. Now let's see how the fight against Toji plays out. Once again, Toji executes his perfect ambush, and this time, Gojo has to rely entirely on his normal human senses. Yes, he has a stand, but Star Platinum can't do much if Gojo's guard isn't up. Sure, Star Platinum has incredible reaction speed, but if you look back at Jotaro's fights, almost every time he was seriously injured or defeated, it was because of a trap or surprise attack, not a direct confrontation. So in this scenario, Toji successfully lands the stab on Gojo. And since this is still early stage Gojo, he hasn't unlocked Time Stop yet. That means he can't freeze the situation to turn it around. Gojo then commands Star Platinum to unleash a barrage of punches on Toji. But because Gojo has already been critically stabbed and has no healing ability, the stance power outright drops significantly. The punches lose their impact, and against Toji's insane durability, they simply aren't enough. Remember, this is the same Toji who was slammed through concrete buildings and got up without a scratch, meaning Gojo loses this one here. Next, we have quirks from My Hero Academia. For this one, we're giving Gojo one for all. Now, during the fight against Toji, Gojo doesn't have full 100% mastery over the quirk yet. However, he's at a level where he can at least react properly. So when Toji executes his ambush, Gojo dodges it thanks to Danger Sense, which detects incoming danger or killing intent before it even happens. Toji then attempts to close the distance with pure speed, but Gojo uses Black Whip, catching Toji's limbs mid-movement and flinging him straight through a building. Before Toji can even recover, Gojo follows up with a 45% Detroit Smash, shattering Toji's ribs and leaving him unable to continue the fight, meaning Gojo wins this round and moves on to face Sukuna. Now remember, this takes place 12 years later, meaning Gojo has fully mastered One for All and essentially become a symbol of peace himself. But even that isn't enough. You see, Sukuna will summon Mahoraga and Agito, turning this into a 3v1. Even if Gojo uses Gear Shift to blitz Sukuna and maybe destroy half his body, Sukuna can simply regenerate using Reverse Curse technique. And don't forget, Gojo would still face stamina issues just like Deku did. Pushing 100% output too many times would start damaging his own body, potentially breaking his bones from the strain. At the same time, Mahoraga can begin adapting to Gojo's speed and attack patterns. While Mahoraga and Agito keep Gojo occupied, Sukuna only needs one opening, and the moment he gets it, he fires the world-cutting slash, decapitating Gojo once again. And that's not even counting Malevolent Shrine or attacks like Fuga, which further tilt the fight in Sukuna's favor. So yeah, Gojo is not winning this one. Next, we have Bankai from the Bleachverse. Alright, for this one, we're giving Gojo Ichigo's powers. And just to make things clear, since Ichigo is part Shinigami, Hollow, and Quincy, we'll assume Gojo can access all of those abilities within his physical body to properly manipulate his Quincy powers. Now, in the fight against Toji, this honestly isn't even a fight. The ambush simply wouldn't work. Gojo can sense killing intent regardless of whether Toji has cursed energy or not. And even if we assume Gojo only has access to his Shikai at this stage, it's still more than enough. The gap in raw power and speed is far too large for Toji to handle, meaning Gojo wins this round and moves on to face Sukuna. Now, due to the time gap, Gojo has fully mastered his entire arsenal and starts the fight directly in his true Bankai form. And honestly, it doesn't even matter if Sukuna summons Mahoraga and Agito. The sheer spiritual pressure Gojo emits at this level would be enough to crush them outright. And if that somehow isn't enough, Gojo can unleash a Gran Rei Getsuga Tensho, an attack powerful enough to distort space itself. So yeah, Sukuna is not winning this one. Next, it's time to give Gojo something from the Naruto-verse. And for this one, we're making Gojo the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Now, just to clarify something, Toji's inverted Spear of Heaven can nullify chakra as well, since chakra is still a form of energy. And to make things more interesting, we'll assume Gojo does not have control over Kurama at this point. So once again, Toji executes his ambush perfectly. He strikes from behind with the inverted Spear of Heaven and stabs Gojo. The spear's nullification properties disrupt Gojo's chakra flow, preventing him from forming any proper defense, essentially paralyzing him. With that, Toji takes Gojo down with ease. But this isn't the end, my friends. Gojo's death activates a failsafe. The Nine-Tails' chakra floods his body to preserve its vessel. And just like that, Gojo rises again, this time in a Three-Tails cloak, fully controlled by Kurama's rage. Also, I don't even need to explain how strong this form is. Even if Toji tries to attack again with the spear, he can't erase that sheer volume of dense Nine-Tails chakra all at once. So yes, Gojo wins this round. Now let's move on to Sukuna. After 12 years, Gojo has done what Naruto once did. He's befriended Kurama. He enters the fight directly in Tailed Beast mode. And at this this level, it doesn't matter if Sukuna summons Mahoraga and Agito. A standard tail beast bomb can vaporize multiple mountains instantly. In comparison, Malevolent Shrine levels a city district only. And if you're thinking, what about Mahoraga adapting? It wouldn't matter. He'd be vaporized at an atomic level in a single hit before adaptation even becomes relevant. Not to mention, Gojo's speed in this form is nearly light speed tier, while Sukuna is significantly slower in comparison. So yeah, nothing more to say here. Gojo wins this one with ease. Next, we have Nen from Hunter x Hunter. For this one, I'll be making Gojo a transmuter, giving him Killua's abilities. Now, when Toji attacks from Gojo's blind spot, something different happens. Before the blade can even touch him, Gojo's body automatically reacts using God speed, snapping out of the way in a burst of electricity. Gojo then immediately counters with Lightning Palm, aiming to shock and briefly paralyze Toji. But here's the problem. Because of Toji's heavenly restriction, he possesses peak human durability and extreme resistance to supernatural effects. While the electricity would definitely shock him, it's more of a nuisance for him than a decisive blow. Toji has tanked far more destructive forces than simple electrical output. And remember, this is still early stage Gojo. He hasn't fully mastered the ability yet. At this level, raw electricity and enhanced speed just aren't enough to overwhelm a monster like Toji. So yeah, Gojo is not winning this one. Next, let's take something from the Dragon Ball verse. Alright, for this one, we're obviously going with Saiyan biology. Now for the Toji fight, we'll cap Gojo heavily. No transformations at all, just his base form. And honestly, even that is more than enough. A base level Saiyan is already a planetary tier threat. So even if Toji successfully lands his sneak attack, it wouldn't even pierce Gojo's skin. The durability gap is just too massive. On the other hand, a single punch from Gojo would send Toji flying instantly. So yeah, no matter what Toji tries, he's not winning this one. Now moving on to Sukuna. As usual, Sukuna summons Mahoraga and Agito to create a 3v1 scenario. But this time, Gojo begins powering up from Super Saiyan 1 to Super Saiyan 2 to Super Saiyan 3 and then Super Saiyan Blue. The sheer pressure from Gojo's aura alone while transforming is enough to force Sukuna to his knees. And once the transformation is complete, one Kamehameha is all it takes. Everything ends in an instant, meaning Gojo wins this one with ease. Lastly, it's time to take something from the One Punch Man verse. And to be honest, you already know what I'm about to do here. We're sacrificing all of Gojo's hair to obtain the ultimate power, limitless strength. Yes, Gojo is now our caped Baldy. And I don't even think this fight needs an explanation. Toji, gone in one punch. Sukuna, probably erased by a casual sneeze. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Gojo wins this one at the cost of his hair. Click on this video next where we made What If Satoru Gojo Fought the Strongest Anime Characters. Go on, check it out.